Hello, I'm Hal the announcer bot, and it's time for racing.
I'm Ada, Hal's co-commentator. Let's get this action started.
Here we go, folks. The atmosphere is electric as the drivers prepare to unleash their machines at Nurburgring, Sprint, GT, for the qualifying session.
I think there's a few drivers out there who have the pace to stick it on pole.
Costo is now up 0.72. Costo is driving through S1-Race. Costo will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session. This is what it's all about. Racer 11C is putting everything he's got into this qualifying session.
Let's see if he can put a good marker down.
Racer 11C is now up 0.19 in Bilstein curve.
There's no guarantee that Racer 11C can maintain this delta through the rest of the lap.
Racer 11C is working his way through Vidal chicane. Racer 11C has completed that flying lap in 1:57.571, which is good enough for P2, down 0.545 to the leader. Costo has improved by 0.14. That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Vidal chicane.
Fans sitting near Vidal chicane get some of the best views of the action.
Costo will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session. Racer 11C is currently up 0.85 going through Bilstein curve.
If Racer 11C gets greedy, this delta could go from green to red in the blink of an eye.
Racer 11C appears focused and prepared driving through Vidal chicane. Racer 11C will be happy, with a time good enough for second in this qualifying session. There are just over 45 minutes left in this qualification session. Costo is looking relatively composed going through S1-Race. Costo will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session. Racer 11C is keeping his head down through Bilstein Curve.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
Costo has improved by 0.29. Costo is 0.28 up driving through Bilstein Curve.
The rest of this lap is no cakewalk. Let's hope he can keep it up.
Loc Honnes is currently on provisional pole, with a time of 1:55.746.
It may be difficult for him to improve on that. Sometimes trying too hard makes you slower. It's far better to drive smooth and smart.
Costo is expertly commanding that car through Vidal chicane. Costo will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. He is surely working on that 2.155 gap to pole.
It looks like Benjamin Nash is getting ready to make his move. He's taking his time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
It's a delicate balance between taking it easy and pushing hard. Let's see how Benjamin handles it.
Racer 11C is up 0.11. That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Bilstein Curve. Racer 11C is driving through Vidal chicane. Racer 11C will be happy, with a time good enough for second in this qualifying session. Racer 11C is looking relatively composed going through Yokohama S.
Spectators near here can smell the smoke wafting from nearby grills.
You can feel the tension building. Benjamin Nash is out on track and getting ready to push for his qualifying time. Benjamin Nash is keeping his head down through Mercedes Arena.
To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at Mercedes Arena.
There are just over 40 minutes left in this qualification session. Sketty is working his way through Mercedes Arena.
I have always loved this section of the track.
That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Bilstein Curve.
The action and glory drivers have lived here at Bilstein Curve is truly historic.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. Benjamin Nash is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run and get everything just right.
This is the moment he's been preparing for. Let's see if he can execute.
That's the outlap done for Benjamin Nash. He'll now look to focus on his first flying lap. Benjamin Nash is expertly commanding that car through Yokohama S.
If Benjamin Nash listens closely, the sounds of cheering fans should just barely be audible over the roar of the engine.
Benjamin Nash is looking relatively composed going through Bilstein Curve.
This is such a great track. I need to make it back here more often.
Benjamin Nash has improved by 1.43 up through Vidal chicane.
This is where drivers have to decide to push for more or just try to maintain it.
Benjamin Nash just clocked a 157.111, 1.365 off of P1 and good enough for P3. Let's see if he can improve on that time further. Benjamin Nash is driving through Yokohama S.
Fuel, fumes, fans, and fights. Yokohama S has it all.
Jonah Hacks is on his outlap.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if Hacks can deliver.
Benjamin Nash is in the green by 0.11. Benjamin Nash appears focused and prepared driving through Bilstein Curve. Benjamin Nash is off the pace 0.4 at Vidal chicane. This is where the mental game comes into play. Jonah Hacks is taking his time to prepare for his qualifying run.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal, but I have a feeling Hacks is going to make it count.
Benjamin Nash will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for him to find that missing 0.853, but that won't stop him from trying.
There are just over 35 minutes left in this qualification session. That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Bilstein Curve. Racer 11C is working his way through Vidal chicane.
There's a spot near here where the teenagers sneak off to make out.
Racer 11C will be happy, with a time good enough for second in this qualifying session. The pressure is on in this qualifying session, but Jonah Hacks is rising to the occasion.
Jonah Hacks certainly is nailing this one. This is shaping up to be a great performance.
Jonah Hacks is keeping his head down through Bilstein Curve.
Don't forget to check out the views near Bilstein Curve, they are fantastic.
Benjamin Nash is now up 0.25. Benjamin Nash is driving through Vidal chicane and is up 0.29.
All we can do now is wish Benjamin luck as the start-finish line approaches.
Jonah Hacks is up 0.25. Benjamin Nash will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. He is surely working on that 0.59 gap to pole.
Benjamin Nash is expertly commanding that car through Yokohama S.
When I get some free time after the race, I'm going to park my pudding near Yokohama S with a nice drink and some friends.
It's all about precision and speed in qualifying, and D. Burkett is nailing both. D. Burkett is looking relatively composed going through Yokohama S. There are just over 30 minutes left in this qualification session. Benjamin Nash will be happy, with a time good enough for third in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for him to find that missing 0.581, but that won't stop him from trying.
D. Burkett is on his first flying lap.
D. Burkett is indeed a rare breed. It takes a special kind of driver to thrive under this kind of pressure.
That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Vidal chicane.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
D. Burkett has just completed that lap in 1:57.456, which is 1.71 off the best time, putting him in P6. Benjamin Nash has improved by 0.2. Sketty will be looking to use this first hot lap to set a solid time in the standings. Sketty is working his way through Bilstein Curve. Sketty appears focused and prepared driving through Vidal chicane.
There's not much better than sitting near here and watching the cars speed by.
Sketty has completed that flying lap in 1:56.777, which is good enough for P4, down 1.031 to the leader. Sketty is driving through Yokohama S. Costo is expertly commanding that car through Vidal chicane. Costo has some work to do, as his best time of 1:57.901 is only good enough for 7th.
There's at least 2.155 seconds to be found, but Costo may be looking for it in the wrong places.
Costo is keeping his head down through Yokohama S.
The VAC Fiat 131 is indeed a sweet-ass looking ride. There are just over 25 minutes left in this qualification session. That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Yokohama S. To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at Yokohama S. Jonah Hacks is working his way through Bilstein Curve. The action and glory drivers have lived here at Bilstein Curve is truly historic.
Jonah Hacks is now up 0.18 in Vidal chicane.
If Jonah Hacks looks at that delta too much, it may end up being a distraction, and all that time he found may be lost.
Jonah Hacks will be happy, with a time good enough for 5th in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. He is surely working on that 0.724 gap to pole.
The adrenaline is pumping. Janqueed is on his out lap, warming up the tires and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. Sketty is in the green by 0.14. Sketty appears focused and prepared driving through Mercedes Arena.
Spectators near here can smell the smoke wafting from nearby grills.
Loke Onas is driving through Bilstein Curve. Loke Onas is expertly commanding that car through Vidal chicane. Loke Onas is currently on provisional pole, with a time of 1:55.279. It's clear that Janqueed is pushing his car to the very edge of traction on this qualifying lap. Janqueed is currently up 0.43 going through Yokohama S. Janqueed has lost 0.15 seconds so far through Bilstein Curve.
Janqueed needs to regroup, refocus, and knock it up a notch.
Janqueed is 0.39 up driving through Vidal chicane. Janqueed just clocked a 1:57.398, 2.119 off of P1 and good enough for P6. Let's see if he can improve on that time further. That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Yokohama S. Benjamin Nash is working his way through Bilstein Curve. Loke Onas is up 0.1. Loke Onas is currently on provisional pole, with a time of 1:55.078.
That's a great time, but it's always a good idea to keeping pushing for every last tenth and hundredth.
Loke Onas is keeping his head down through Yokohama S.
If Loke Onas listens closely, the sounds of cheering fans should just barely be audible over the roar of the engine.
D. Burkett is in the green by 0.13. D. Burkett appears focused and prepared driving through Mercedes Arena.
Fuel, fumes, fans, and fights, Mercedes Arena has it all.
D. Burkett is driving through Bilstein Curve. D. Burkett is looking relatively composed going through Vidal chicane. This is what it's all about. Jaeger Strensky is putting everything he's got into this qualifying session.
Absolutely. Strensky is showing the world what he's made of.
Jaeger Strensky completes his lap in a time of 1:55.017, currently in P1. There are just over 15 minutes left in this qualification session. Jenquit has some work to do, as his best time of 1:57.109 is only good enough for 8th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure he will keep working on that 2.092 gap to pole.
D. Burkett is expertly commanding that car through Mercedes Arena.
There's a spot near here where the teenagers sneak off to make out.
Jenquit has improved by 0.1 up through Bilstein Curve.
There's no guarantee that Jenquit can maintain this delta through the rest of the lap.
D. Burkett is up 0.13. Benjamin Nash has improved by 0.11. Benjamin Nash will be happy, with a time good enough for fourth in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for him to find that missing 1.02, but that won't stop him from trying.
Sketty has some work to do, as his best time of 1:56.165 is only good enough for sixth.
There's at least 1.149 seconds to be found, but Sketty may be looking for it in the wrong places.
Octavio 67 is keeping his head down through Mercedes Arena.
This track has many great straights and corners, but this one is especially good.
Jonah Hacks is up 0.16. Octavio 67 has improved by 0.15. Octavio 67 is in the green by 0.18, making his way through Bilstein Curve. That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Bilstein Curve.
Fans sitting near Bilstein Curve get some of the best views of the action.
Jenquit is down 0.27 seconds on the way through Vidal Chicane. Jaeger Strensky appears focused and prepared driving through Mercedes Arena.
When I get some free time after the race, I'm going to park my pudding near Mercedes Arena with a nice drink and some friends.
Sketty has found an extra 0.25. Octavio 67 is now up 0.15 in Bilstein Curve.
If Octavio gets greedy, this delta could go from green to red in the blink of an eye.
There are just over 10 minutes left in this qualification session. Benjamin Nash is driving through Vidal Chicane and is up 0.3. Benjamin Nash will be happy, with a time good enough for fourth in this qualifying session. It looks like Team 01 is getting ready to make his move. He's taking his time to warm up those tires and get everything just right.
He'll want to get a good gap established for the flying lap.
Jaeger Strensky is driving through Mercedes Arena.
I have always loved this section of the track.
Octavio 67 has found an extra 0.11. Octavio 67 is expertly commanding that car through Advenbogen. D. Burkett has improved by 0.11. Jaeger-Strensky is in the green by 0.1. Jaeger-Strensky is not able to keep his pace consistent, so far 0.12 seconds down through Mercedes Arena.
Strensky isn't looking great now, but I have faith he can turn this around.
Timo 1 is now up 0.11. Timo 1 is working his way through Mercedes Arena.
The VAC Fiat 131 is indeed a sweet-ass looking ride.
Timo 1 is looking relatively composed going through Bilstein Curve.
There's a great spot near here to kick back with a cold drink and enjoy the beauty of it all.
Timo 1 is 0.15 up driving through Vidal chicane. D. Burkett has improved by 0.71 up through Bilstein Curve.
This is where drivers have to decide to push for more or just try to maintain it.
D. Burkett is keeping his head down through Vidal chicane.
To see the best action, you can't go wrong here at Vidal chicane.
D. Burkett has some work to do, as his best time of 1:57.456 is only good enough for 10th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure he will keep working on that 2.44 gap to pole.
Impressive work from Racer 11C, who has claimed 6th on the grid. Now, the focus is on maintaining his composure and push for an even better starting position.
I completely agree, Hal. Racer 11C has plenty of opportunity starting in 6th, however, it's crucial for him to keep pushing and make up some positions in the race.
Loke Onas is currently in 3rd during qualifying. The challenge now is to assess his competitors and strategize how to move up the order for a better race start. And there goes Jaeger-Strensky, currently in P2. He's shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still a chance to improve on that time. That VAC Fiat 131 looks good driving through Mercedes Arena.
Don't forget to check out the views near Mercedes Arena, they are fantastic.
A disappointing performance from Costo so far in this qualifying session. Being in 11th position is certainly not what he's hoping for. A solid qualifying performance by Loke Onas, positioned in 3rd. The question now is whether he can make further progress and challenge the frontrunners.
Absolutely, Hal. Loke Onas has put in a remarkable effort to secure 3rd. The competition is fierce, and he'll need to stay focused to defend the position.
A mesmerizing display from Octavio 67 in this qualifying session. He's left everyone in awe with his speed and precision, currently leading the pack and setting the standard, sending a clear message to his competitors.
Absolutely, Hal. Octavio is setting an impressive pace and demonstrating dominance on the track. His competitors have a challenging task ahead to match that performance.
Octavio 67 is expertly commanding that car through Advenbogen. It's been a challenging day for Costo in qualifying, currently in 11th position, which is not reflective of his true potential.
I completely agree, Hal. Costo is in a difficult position, but needs to analyze his performance so far and make the necessary adjustments. It's all about regrouping and taking the best shot in the remaining time.
Costo has some work to do, as his best time of 1:57.274 is only good enough for 10th. A challenging session for Christoph Lee Appold so far. He's currently in 12th position, which is not where he wanted to be. But in motorsport, we've seen remarkable comebacks, and he'll be hoping for better fortunes to secure a good finishing position.
Absolutely, Hal. Christoph Lee Appold is facing a challenging situation. It's time to dig deep and turn things around. It's not over until the checkered flag, and there is still time to improve.
Christoph Lee Appold has just completed that lap in 1:58.762, which is 3.746 off the best time, putting him in P12. Christoph Lee Appold is working his way through Yokohama S.
The action and glory drivers have lived here at Yokohama S is truly historic.
Incredible drive by Loke Onas so far, earning him 3rd. The competition is fierce, however, and he'll need to quickly find more time to get even closer to the sharp end of the grid.
Great analysis, Hal. Loke Onas has shown excellent pace to secure 3rd. Now, the focus shifts to whether he can use that track position to his advantage in the race.
Loke Onas is currently up 0.2 going through Bilstein curve. Not the ideal start for Christoph Lee Appold in this qualifying session. Currently in 12th position, he'll be eager to put together a strong final lap to improve in the standings. The pressure is on, and he'll need to deliver a top-notch performance. Christoph Lee Appold has some work to do, as his best time of 1:58.364 is only good enough for 12th.
Absolutely, Hal. Christoph is aware of the current situation, and he'll be looking to make the most of the remaining time. He'll need to analyze his performance, work closely with his team, and find that extra bit of speed to improve his qualifying position.
Impressive display by Locanas, currently sitting in P3. He's set a competitive time, but the question remains whether he can push even harder to secure a better starting position. Achi has completed that flying lap in 1:56.042, which is good enough for P6, down 1.2 to the leader.
You're absolutely right, Hal. Locanas' current position of third reflects his strong qualifying performance. Now, he'll need to strategize to capitalize on this starting position.
What a performance from Jonah Hacks, currently in 9th on the grid. It's a good spot for now, but other drivers are trying their hardest to put in a better time and push him down the order.
Spot on analysis, Hal. Jonah is positioned well in 9th. It's crucial for him to maintain his focus and defend his position in the upcoming race.
Jonah Hacks has some work to do, as his best time of 1:56.470 is only good enough for 9th.
There's at least 1.628 seconds to be found, but Jonah may be looking for it in the wrong places.
It's a beautifully calm day here at Nurburgring, Sprint, GT, as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The tension's building now. This is going to be another great race.
Starting from pole position is the best possible outcome for Locanas.
He will need to stay cool under pressure. If he can do that, he'll be in with a chance.
Octavio 67 will be looking to convert this front row start into a win.
He will have to keep his foot on the gas in order to stay at the sharp end of the grid.
The third position is occupied by Jaeger Strensky.
The Croatian driver will be focused on a good result from here.
Timo 1 has qualified 4th.
Another good start for the British driver.
Lining up in 5th is Benjamin Nash. The starting flag has been waved, and the battle on the track begins. The opening lap is always intense, with drivers vying for an early advantage.
These opening moments can make or break a driver's race. Strategy and skill are key to navigating this intense start. I think we are all looking forward to seeing what Ben can do from here.
As the tires come up to temp, their available grip is changing, and the drivers that manage this transition best are likely to make progress through the field.
The first lap can always be a bit of a melee as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
Settling into a rhythm is going to be crucial here. Not the start that Octavio 67 wanted in this race. Seems he's been caught off guard from the get-go.
Octavio is going to be cursing like Sonoda after losing positions. I'm sure of that, Hal.
Having started in P6, Achi will be hoping for a good result in this race. The drivers are jockeying for position. Sketty will be looking to get off to a good start and consolidate his position. Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position?
Every corner, every lap, and every race is a chance for these drivers to hone their abilities and improve their skills.
Christoph Lee Appold will be studying the nearby drivers and looking for anything that could give them an advantage.
Like gladiators, they enter Hal, but instead of lions and swords, our champions fight in an arena of tarmac. and with fire-breathing machines of cutting-edge materials, designed to explore the very limits of physics itself in what can sometimes be very much a fight to the death.
Octavio 67 is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Hold on a moment. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Achi gaining places and Octavio 67 losing them. The adrenaline is pumping as Achi gets within striking distance of Octavio 67 in their race for 6th.
If Achi pushes too hard, he might end up taking the scenic route, and nobody's got time for sightseeing during a race.
The gap between Costo and D. Burkett is not insurmountable, but it's going to take a mistake from Costo to bring D. Burkett into play. Team 01 is on a mission, chasing Jaeger Strensky, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Team 01 is really walking that fine line.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. It's been a solid race so far for Sketty. He's holding his position and keeping a steady pace.
Consistency is key in racing. Sketty just needs to keep doing what he's doing and wait for opportunities to present themselves.
We got a close battle as Achi closes in on Sketty.
It's a battle for position as Achi tries to make a move on Sketty. This is what racing is all about.
The pressure is on as Jonah Hacks tries to catch up to Achi. Jonah Hacks is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Achi at the moment. The battle for P12 is heating up as Christoph Lee Apel tries to catch D. Burkett in P12.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Lee Apel needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
It's going to be a close one. Achi will have to push hard to create an opportunity.
It's looking good for Achi, who has gained a place after passing Sketty.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Achi can't afford to get complacent.
Looks like Sketty is really pushing it to the limit. He's taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues. Braking development. Superb driving from Sketty, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
Absolutely, Sketty is really putting on a clinic out there, and he's making it look easy. Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control. The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
Disappointing for Sketty, falling down the order to 8th.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
The race is really heating up. Team 01 is hunting down Jaeger Strensky with everything he's got. Things are heating up as Octavio 67 tries to close the gap to Racer 11C. It looks like we might get a battle between Octavio 67 and Racer 11C.
That's a great effort from Octavio. He'll need to keep up the pressure and see if he can make a move.
Breaking news, folks. And Team 01 has just won the place from Jaeger Strensky.
Definitely, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Team 01 needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
The action is non-stop as Team 01 shadows Jaeger Strensky through every twist and turn, determined to claim second.
This is what separates the good from the great, the ability to stay focused and perform under pressure.
The pursuit is on. Sketty is closing the gap on Achi, determined to claim P7. This is where the race gets really interesting. Team 01 is closing in on Jaeger Strensky. Braking alert. An impressive showing from Team 01, who has gained positions and left Jaeger Strensky in the dust.
Yes, but Team 01 can't rest on his laurels, but needs to keep pushing to consolidate his position.
It seems like Octavio 67 is getting in range of Racer 11C. Breaking news, folks. Big gains for Octavio 67 as they move up the field, leaving Racer 11C behind.
There is no room for error in this battle.
Hold that thought. And Costo has just lost the place to D. Burkett.
He's been focusing so hard on maintaining his position, and now he's slipped back in the field. Meanwhile, D. Burkett has been making some great moves and is now on the charge.
Costo is having to make that VAC Fiat 131 as wide as possible to try and keep D. Burkett behind him.
This is a tight race and Costo is doing a great job of holding him off. It will be interesting to see if D. Burkett can make a move.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Christoph Lee Appold is chasing D. Burkett in P12.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Lee Appold should use slipstreaming to his advantage and close the gap to D. Burkett.
It's certainly not going to plan for Christoph Lee Appold right now, who is struggling to keep up with D. Burkett. You know, Ada, I've always wondered, how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure?
Well, Hal, it comes down to mental strength and training. Drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to help them stay calm and focused during high-pressure situations.
Christoph Lee Appold is running 13th and trying to catch D. Burkett. Jenquist is giving it his all chasing down Jonah Hacks in P9. It looks like Jenquist is making a move. The gap to Jonah Hacks is now down to 0.4 seconds. Every move counts now as Achi works to reel in Racer 11C and overtake for P6. Achi is in the flow, putting in his best lap so far.
Things are heating up now, Hal, and it'll be interesting to see if he can improve further on that time.
Look at that, Christoph Lee Appold is hot on the tail of D. Burkett. The gap between Christoph Lee Appold and D. Burkett is widening. It's now up to 0.6 seconds. Tactics are clearly going to play an important part in this race.
Drivers are going to need to look after their tires and will want to keep something in them for the crucial latter stages, as their tires wear and fuel levels deplete in the handling changes.
And don't forget the track grip increases as more rubber gets laid down.
Indeed, the conditions are constantly changing and the drivers need to adapt, otherwise it can cost crucial time and jeopardize their position.
Achi is running 7th and trying to keep up with Racer 11C.
Achi needs to focus to make up that gap to Racer 11C.
This is a thrilling battle as Christoph Lee Appold edges closer to D. Burkett in their fight for P12. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed.
You can see that car bouncing around as it rides the curbs. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
Looks like Christoph Lee Appold is really pushing it to the limit. He's taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control.
Oh, this is getting intense. Octavio 67 is just a few car lengths behind Benjamin Nash. The battle for P7 is heating up as Sketty tries to catch Racer 11C in P7. It's game on now. Sketty has closed the gap to Racer 11C. It's now down to 0.3 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. Hard-fought battles with as much determination as respect, between friends and enemies alike.
The pressure is really on for Christoph Lee Appold in 12th as D. Burkett is closing in. This is where experience and skill really count. D. Burkett seems to be putting the pressure on Christoph Lee Appold.
And D. Burkett is poised to capitalize on any mistake. It's just a matter of who cracks first.
Things are heating up as Sketty tries to close the gap to Racer 11C. Sketty has just put in a faster lap than Racer 11C, so that's going to give him something to worry about. Oh, this is getting intense. Octavio 67 needs to keep Benjamin Nash in his sights.
With just 0.6 seconds between them, Octavio will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
The gap between Octavio 67 and Benjamin Nash is growing. It's now up to 0.8 seconds. It's looking good for Racer 11C, sitting in 7th. Things are starting to get tense as Sketty manages to close the gap to Racer 11C. It's now down to 0.8 seconds. Sketty is trying his best to catch Racer 11C.
Sketty is really hustling that VAC Fiat 131. He's riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
It's not going to plan for Sketty, who is trailing behind Racer 11C and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. Octavio 67 has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Benjamin Nash. I expect his only hope at this point is that first name makes an error. It seems like Octavio 67 is struggling and not able to maintain his pace. Sketty is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
It's not looking good for Sketty, who is still behind Racer 11C and the gap is increasing.
This is a tough situation for Sketty. He'll need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
I don't think that's the fastest way around Nurburgring. Sprint, GT. Team 01 is looking for a way to close that gap to Locanes.
Team 01 is looking to close the 0.6 second gap and make a pass.
Good news for Team 01, the gap to Locanes has decreased. It's now down to 0.5 seconds. The pursuit is on. Sketty is closing the gap on Racer 11C, determined to claim P7. Sketty is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Racer 11C at the moment.
Sketty needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way. If he can close the gap down, he may be able to bring the fight to Racer 11C.
This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
You can feel the intensity in the air. The slightest mistake could cost either of them valuable time and the position.
It's certainly not going to plan for Team 01 right now, who is struggling to keep up with Locanes. I love being here at Nurburgring. Sprint, GT, what an awesome place to be witnessing these titans of the track battle it out.
Indeed, Hal, what a magnificent sight and sound. I love listening to the roar of these engines. Let's just listen for a moment.
The gap between Team 01 and Locanes is razor thin as they vie for first in this nail-biting contest. Hold up, breaking info. A great pass for Team 01, swapping places with Locanes to move up the field.
This battle between Team 01 and Locanes is so intense, you could cut the tension with a knife, or should I say, with a front wing.
Locanes is placed first at the moment, and hoping to keep his distance ahead of Team 01, who is 0.3 seconds behind. The race is really heating up. Team 01 is hunting down Locanes with everything he's got.
The gap between them is just over 0.4 seconds. Can Team 01 close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Sketty is chasing Racer 11C and P7.
The gap between them is now just over 0.3 seconds.
The pressure is on as Christophe Lee Apel tries to catch up to Jenkryd.
This is where every inch counts. Christoph Leopold is pushing hard to close the gap on Jenkwit. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
This is what it's all about, folks. Team 01 is in hot pursuit of Lokanas, who's just trying to stay ahead.
There's blood in the water for first place.
Sketty is giving it his all, chasing down Racer 11C and P7.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Sketty needs to stay patient and wait for Racer 11C to make a mistake.
Look at that, Team 01 is hot on the tail of Lokanas. Looking at the lap times, Team 01 is not currently on pace with Lokanas. Maybe he'll get a chance to see where to make up some time. It's an intense battle for position as Sketty tries to outmaneuver Racer 11C. This is edge of your seat racing. Christoph Leopold is on a mission, chasing Jenkwit, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
The mental game is just as important here. Leopold must keep his cool while putting pressure on Jenkwit.
Team 01 wants to get into Lokana's slipstream. Hold that thought. It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Team 01 gaining places and Lokanas losing them.
If Team 01 gets too close, he might end up taking the paint off.
Tough break for Team 01, who has just lost a position. Team 01 is looking for an opportunity to get around Lokanas.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble at the boundary of disaster.
Looks like Sketty is really pushing it to the limit. He's taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control. I would not be surprised to see him get this pass completed soon.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed.
The gap is 0.4 seconds now. Christoph Leopold is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Jenkwit.
The battle for P1 is heating up as Team 01 tries to catch Lokanas in P1.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
Octavio 67 is running 5th and trying to catch Benjamin Nash.
Octavio needs to focus to have a chance at getting past Benjamin.
Oh, this is getting intense. Sketty is just a few car lengths behind Racer 11C. The gap between Sketty and Racer 11C is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds. This is where the race gets really interesting. Team 01 is closing in on Lokanas. The race is really heating up. Sketty is hunting down Racer 11C with everything he's got. It looks like Racer 11C is pulling away from Sketty. The gap is continuing to grow as they head through Mercedes Arena. Things are heating up as Team 01 tries to close the gap to Lokanas.
It's a game of strategy now as Team 01 hunts down Lokanas. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
The pursuit is on. Sketty is closing the gap on Racer 11C, determined to claim P7.
One important aspect here is choosing the right braking points. Sketty needs to be precise to avoid overshooting and losing valuable time.
The pressure is on as Team 01 tries to catch up to Lokanas. Sketty is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play.
Hold on to your hats, folks. Team 01 is right on the heels of Lokanas, and we're in for a wild ride. Hold on a moment. It's looking good for Team 01, who has gained a place after passing Lokanas.
As an experienced driver, I can tell you that Team 01 must be laser focused on Lokanas' every move, looking for the slightest weakness to exploit.
Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would help to cement Lokanaw's legendary status. Octavio 67 is on a mission, chasing Benjamin Nash, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
It's a fine line between pushing the car to its limits and losing control. Octavio is really walking that fine line.
Sketty is giving it his all, chasing down Racer 11C and P7. Sketty appears to be losing ground on Racer 11C. He'll need to pick up the pace a bit heading into Mercedes Arena to get a good exit and gain some ground. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed. It seems like Octavio 67 has got the bit between his teeth, improving on Benjamin Nash's lap time there.
We will have to see if Benjamin has got any answers for that.
Every move counts now as Sketty works to reel in Racer 11C and overtake for P7.
The gap between them is just over 0.5 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
Lokanaw's wants to close that gap with Team 01. Stop the press. An impressive showing from Lokanaw's, who has gained positions and left Team 01 in the dust.
Yes, but Lokanaw's needs to keep pushing hard. This race is far from over, and anything can happen. Lokanaw's needs to stay focused and drive with skill and determination. And if you're enjoying the racing, please remember to like and subscribe.
Wait. Oh dear, Racer 11C has had an incident. The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
Team 01 is so close to Lokanaw's that if this were a dance floor, they'd be doing the tango.
The pursuit is on. Octavio 67 is working on that gap to Benjamin Nash, determined to claim P4. Look at that, D. Burkett is hot on the tail of Christophe Lee Apel. The gap between D. Burkett and Christophe Lee Apel is getting smaller.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. A driver that stays calm and focused is more likely to come out on top.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Octavio 67 is closing in on Benjamin Nash. Oh, this is getting intense. Jonah Hacks is just a few car lengths behind Racer 11C. Jonah Hacks is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Racer 11C to 0.3 seconds.
Exactly what Jonah Hacks needed. He can't afford to lose any more ground to Racer 11C.
The battle for P11 is heating up as Christophe Lee Apel tries to catch Jenquid in P11.
The racing is getting tight between Christophe and Jenquid as they battle for P11. No doubt, both drivers know that one mistake could cost them the position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
Jenquid wants to find a way round Christophe Lee Apel.
I might have said this before, but dog, bone, you know the rest.
It's like Team 01 has saved all his energy for this final stretch. It's all over. Team 01 has claimed victory in this race with a stunning drive that will be remembered for years to come. Clearly at the top of his game right now.
And that's why Team 01 is one of the best in the business. A dominant display of driving from start to finish, leaving the rest of the pack in the dust. He'll be the one celebrating at the finish line.
A nail-biting finish, but Lokanaw's claims second place. Excellent focus from Jaeger Strensky to secure a fantastic third place on the podium. Followed by Benjamin Nash, Octavio 67, Atchi, and Sketty in 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Coming in 8th and 9th we have Racer 11C and Jonah Hacks. Costo claimed 10th. Finishing 11th and 12th is Christophe Lee Apel and Jenquid, with D. Burkett in 13th. It's a very still day here at Nurburgring, Sprint, GT, as we're getting ready to get things underway.
The calm before the storm. I don't know about you, Hal, but I'm expecting some hard-fought battles on track today.
D. Burkett is starting this race on pole.
He can't afford to get complacent. He will have a target on his back now.
Jenquid is starting this race on the front row.
He will have to be smart about his moves. He must not burn out too early.
It's Christophe Leopold, sitting comfortably in third.
Let's see what Christophe can do.
In the fourth position, it's none other than Costo.
It's like he's on the outside looking in, close enough to see the front without actually being there.
Taking the fifth spot is Jonah Hacks.
It's not always easy to get the VAC Fiat 131 this high up the starting grid.
Green flag, green flag.
The drivers will need to be aggressive but also patient. They can't afford to make any mistakes if they want to stay in the running for a podium finish.
It's a delicate balance, Ada, but the best drivers know how to push the limits and make it work to their advantage.
It's never easy to drive that razor's edge between perfection and disaster.
This is going to be one hell of a race, I can already feel it. There's some intense battling throughout the field as everyone is feeling out the drivers around them.
The drivers will be jostling for the best position, Hal. Some of them may not make it to the second lap in one piece.
The racing is normally closely fought here at Nurburgring, Sprint, GT. I think we are in for a cracking race.
I'm looking forward to this one, Hal. Maybe we'll see a return to form for Racer 11C in this outing in Germany.
The stewards will be hoping that there aren't too many incidents for them to pick over when the dust settles on this one. The tensions are high, and no one will want to make a crucial mistake on the first lap.
With this motley bunch of drivers, there is bound to be drama. I just hope we don't miss it.
It's brilliant to see such a full grid here today. Every lap is an opportunity for Costo to learn just a little bit more to shave a few tenths or hundredths off his times.
It all comes down to this, Hal, where the rubber meets the road. There's no more time for talk, no more practice. The teams have done all they can, now it comes down to Costo to bring it home.
As we watch the drivers fight it out in the first lap, I can already feel that this is going to be an epic race. There's not much to report on from Sketty at the moment. He's just keeping his head down and putting in consistent laps. No room for error here. Benjamin Nash is breathing down the neck of Team 01, waiting for the perfect chance to make his move.
The slightest mistake from either driver could lead to a meeting with the barriers, and nobody wants an impromptu autograph session with the wall.
In racing, anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown.
Should things go awry, Jaeger and Loke Annas might find themselves giving a whole new meaning to the term tandem drifting, though I doubt they'd enjoy it as much as the spectators.
Sketty has the pedal to the metal chasing Costo.
Rubbing's racing, but let's just hope they don't rub it too hard.
This is getting exciting. Achi is looking for any gap that might open up the position.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Achi to make up that gap, especially with D. Burkett defending so well.
Sketty could be looking for a way up the inside of Costo. Hold on a second. A great moment for Sketty, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
He'll need to keep it on the road, or at the very least the rumble strips. The fastest way around is not usually in the grass. As the saying goes, too much grass will slow you down.
Hold on a moment. Heartbreak for Sketty as they slip down the field. Let's talk about tire degradation. Ada, how does it affect the car's handling, and what do drivers need to do to adapt to the changing conditions?
Tire degradation can significantly impact handling. How? As the tires wear, the grip reduces, and drivers need to adjust their braking points, cornering speeds, and throttle application to maintain control of the car.
The pressure is on as Jenquid works on catching up to Christophe Leopold.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Jenquid needs to be careful not to overdo it.
Things are heating up as Costo closes in on Sketty. The gap between them is down to practically nothing.
You know what they say, keep your friends close, and your racing rivals even closer. Looks like Costo is taking that advice to heart today.
Hold on a second. Big gains for Costo as they move up the field, leaving Sketty behind. Sketty seems to be putting the pressure on Costo. Braking development. What a move. Sketty has moved up to third.
There is no room for error in this battle.
This is a thrilling battle as Costo edges closer to Sketty in their fight for P3. The crowd is on its feet as Jaeger Strensky chases down Octavio 67 through Mercedes Arena.
And the drivers know it too, Hal. He's giving it everything he's got, and you can see him pushing the limits of the car's capabilities.
Hold on a second. A brilliant maneuver from Jaeger Strensky, who has just moved up the field.
That's what we like to see. Strensky is really showing his class today.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Sketty is chasing Costo in P3. Braking development. And Benjamin Nash has just won the place from Octavio 67. The intensity is off the charts as Benjamin Nash hounds Octavio 67, both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit. Wait, it's a tale of two drivers right now, with Benjamin Nash gaining places and Octavio 67 losing them.
Absolutely. Benjamin Nash is showing great pace and determination, but he can't get too confident. There are still plenty of challenges ahead.
A setback for Benjamin Nash, who has just been passed. Hold that thought. A tough moment for Benjamin Nash, who has just lost a place, now in 10th.
That's got to be frustrating, but Benji is a skilled driver, and he's got what it takes to battle back up the field.
Braking alert. Disappointing for Benjamin Nash, falling down the order to 11th.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. Nash needs to stay calm and focused, and make his move when the time is right.
Oh, this is getting intense. Costo is just behind Sketty.
It's a thrilling battle for position as these two drivers give it their all. This is racing at its finest.
Braking development. It's looking good for Costo, who has gained a place after passing Sketty. We're watching Timo 1 in 5th, and is currently being hounded by Achi with a gap of just 0.2 seconds. Hold on a second. Fantastic move from Timo 1, who has just gained a position.
Impressive. Timo 1 is really showing his skill and determination out there. It's an intense race between these two drivers and Achi is going to have to try something here.
Stop the press. Superb driving from Costo, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. I think Timo 1 is going to try and outbrake VAC Fiat 131 as they come into Mercedes Arena. This could gain him the place, but it may all end badly. Hold up, braking info. What a tight spot for Timo 1. Achi is right on his tail 0.1 seconds away, and Sketty just inches ahead with a gap of 0.2 seconds. It's a true test of these drivers' racecraft abilities.
You're right on the money, Hal. Timo 1 is caught between two determined rivals, and the gaps to the cars ahead and behind add an extra layer of complexity. It's a delicate balance between defense and seeking opportunities.
We're starting to see who really has the pace now in this race as Achi is starting to climb all over the back of Timo 1, any closer and he may need to pop the boot. Things are heating up as Octavio 67 tries to close the gap to Jonah Hacks. It's a close race between Racer 11C and D. Burkett in 9th.
Racer 11C is following D. Burkett so closely, he could start charging him rent for occupying the same space on the track.
Hold on a moment. A great moment for Racer 11C, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
You can't argue with results like that. Racer 11C is really making his mark on this race.
This is a thrilling moment in the race, with Jaeger Strensky in 12th defending his position with everything he's got. But Benjamin Nash is relentless, and the gap is less than 0.1 seconds. It's anyone's position at this point.
Strensky needs to get the lead out, Hal, otherwise his backside is gonna look like the Japanese flag come the morning.
Braking update. Great driving from Octavio 67, who has just gained a place and moved up to 7th.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, what it's all about.
This is what high-octane racing looks like. Octavio 67 is breathing down the neck of Jonah Hacks, not giving him any room to relax.
If Octavio gets any closer to Hacks, he'll need to send out wedding invitations.
This is going to be a nail-biter. Jaeger Strensky is defending for his life, but D. Burkett is right there doing everything he can to force a mistake. Looks like Octavio 67 is really pushing it to the limit. He's taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, Taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control.
The pursuit is on. Racer 11C is closing the gap on Jonah Hacks, determined to claim P6. It's not looking good for Racer 11C, who is still behind Jonah Hacks, and the gap is increasing. The race is really heating up. Jaeger Strensky is hunting down Loke Onas with everything he's got. It's a game of inches now as Octavio 67 tails Achi closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake. Octavio 67 is trying his best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Achi at the moment.
Octavio needs to get it together to make a dent in that gap.
Stop the press. This is a tough break for Christoph Lee Apel. He just lost P6 to Racer 11C.
Racer 11C is in there like a rat up a drain pipe, Hal. Christoph Lee Apel is not going to be happy about that.
This one's going to be tough. Christoph Lee Apel is getting his elbows out, and there may not be enough time left for Racer 11C to make a move. It looks like Octavio 67 is in control. He's ahead of Jonah Hacks by over a second, and it doesn't look like he's going to be challenged anytime soon. Braking development. What a move. Costo has moved up to 10th. These drivers are battling hard for this position, each one trying to outsmart and outmaneuver the other. D. Burkett is on a mission, chasing Costo, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. Racer 11C is in 6th, and is being closely chased by Loke Onas, who is just 0.2 seconds behind.
You're right. Racer 11C in 6th needs to stay cool under pressure and make every move count. But Loke Onas is a fierce competitor, and won't give up without a fight.
Impressive stuff from Racer 11C, who has managed to pull away from Loke Onas, leaving him choking in his exhaust fumes.
Agreed, Hal. Superb driving there. If they keep this up, this race should be a real thrill ride.
It's a tight race with Loke Onas in 6th just managing to stay ahead of Racer 11C in 7 by a margin of 0.2 seconds. We've got an edge of your seat battle between Racer 11C in 7th and Benjamin Nash in 8th, with just 0.2 seconds between them. It's a thrilling pursuit as Benjamin Nash is right behind Racer 11C, keeping the pressure on for 7th place. Benjamin Nash needs to find some speed, or maybe get more consistent. Ada. He's just put in a slower lap than Racer 11C.
Hopefully Benjamin Nash can find some of that missing time and get it back.
Wow. Jaeger Strensky is really pushing hard to catch up to Benjamin Nash.
When I was racing, we had a saying, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Strensky is definitely living on the edge today.
It's neck and neck, the closest battle we've seen in a while.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Timo Wan and Jenkwid both need to stay cool under pressure.
The pressure is on as Loke Onas tries to catch up to Jonah Hacks. It looks like Loke Onas is making a move. The gap to Jonah Hacks is now down to 0.3 seconds. Benjamin Nash is holding 8th, but Jaeger Strensky is right on his tail.
It's not over yet. Strensky is right on Nash's tail, and if he can find just a little bit of extra speed, he might be able to make a move.
Jaeger Strensky is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. We'll have to wait to see if Jaeger can use the draft to his advantage, or if the lack of downforce will hinder his progress.
Timo 1 is giving it his all, chasing down Jenkwid in P1. We got a close battle as Octavio 67 closes in on Achi.
I remember being in a similar situation during my racing days. Octavio must stay focused and wait for the perfect opportunity to overtake.
The gap between Jaeger Strensky and Benjamin Nash is razor thin as they vie for 8th in this nail-biting contest. Hold that thought. An impressive showing from Jaeger Strensky, who has gained positions and left Benjamin Nash in the dust. Octavio 67 is looking for a way round Achi.
If you don't push the boundaries, you will never know where they are.
It's an intense battle for position as Jaeger Strensky tries to outmaneuver Benjamin Nash. This is edge of your seat racing. Jaeger Strensky could be on a charge here, Ada. He's just put in a quicker lap than Benjamin Nash.
The question now is, can Benji respond to that and pick up the pace? I'm not so sure.
Braking development. Oh, the frustration must be building for Octavio 67. He's just lost third position to Achi and he's going to have to work hard to get it back.
Indeed, he's been trying so hard to hold his position, but the other drivers are just too strong. Meanwhile, Achi is showing some great pace.
I'm sure Octavio 67 in third is starting to notice Achi is right on his tail, and is still closing the gap.
This could be where Achi is gonna dive up the inside. Octavio is going to need to cover the inside and that will compromise his exit speed.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled from being pushed for every last bit of speed.
The gap between them is just over 0.3 seconds. Can Team 01 close that gap and get back in range? I can't see it happening at this point.
It's all eyes on this battle as Octavio 67 in fourth tries to hold off the challenge of Locanis.
Absolutely, Octavio in fourth is doing a fantastic job of maintaining his lead, but he can't afford to make a single mistake. Locanis is looking for any opportunity to make a move. This could be a battle to the finish line.
It looks like Locanis is all over Octavio 67 going through Bilstein curve, increasing the pressure and hoping for a mistake.
For sure, Hal. That's exactly what I would be doing here, as Octavio is gonna be aware of him riding his bumper.
The gap between Team 01 and Jenquid may be wide, but that doesn't mean Team 01 is safe. He's got to maintain concentration and avoid any lapses in performance. The adrenaline is pumping as Locanis gets within striking distance of Octavio 67 in their race for fourth. Every move counts now as Jaeger Strensky works to reel in Racer 11C and overtake for P7. Octavio 67 is looking for an opportunity to get around Locanis. Braking development. Fantastic move from Octavio 67, who has just gained a position.
It looks like Octavio has the speed to make a move. I just hope he can do it cleanly.
Hold the phone. Looks like that's a mistake from Jenquid. This could be costly. Jonah Hax is having to make that VAC Fiat 131 as wide as possible to try and keep Octavio 67 behind him. Braking update. Oh, the pressure is really getting to Jonah Hax. He just lost fourth position to Octavio 67 and really needs to regroup quickly.
That's some bad luck for Jonah Hax. He just couldn't hold onto it, but he can always regroup and get on the attack. This is a close race. Jonah Hax is doing a great job defending P4. Octavio is looking for any opportunity to put his nose in there and get Jonah Hax off the racing line.
Oh, this is getting intense. Jaeger Strensky is just a few car lengths behind Racer 11C.
Strensky is looking to close the 0.4 second gap and make a pass.
This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit.
If Octavio isn't careful, he might end up turning this high-speed chase into a synchronized spinning routine, and trust me, that's not a crowd pleaser.
This is what it's all about, folks. Jaeger Strensky is in hot pursuit of Racer 11C, who's just trying to stay ahead. Braking development. That won't be ideal for Christophe Leopold. No room for error here. Octavio 67 is breathing down the neck of Jonah Hax, waiting for the perfect chance to make his move. Hold on a moment. A great pass for Octavio 67, swapping places with Jonah Hax to move up the field.
That's right. Octavio is determined to pass Hax and secure a higher position.
Braking alert. Superb driving from Locanis, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. Hold on to your hats, folks. Locanis is right on the heels of Achi, and we're in for a wild ride.
It looks like Locanis wants to take a cheeky peek up the inside.
Braking development. A great moment for Jaeger Strensky, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. Jaeger Strensky wants to get into Octavio 67's slipstream.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble at the boundary of disaster.
It's a tense battle for position between Octavio 67 in 5th and Jonah Hax in 6th. Octavio 67 is keeping Jonah Hax at bay with a gap of 0.2 seconds.
If Jonah gets any closer to the back of Octavio, then one of them is gonna need some lube if they want to take this further.
Jonah Hax is placed 6th at the moment, and hoping to keep his distance ahead of Benjamin Nash, who is 0.4 seconds behind. Hold on a moment. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
Oops, Octavio is going to be wishing that hadn't happened. Surely he's got enough in the tank to pull away. Gonna be interesting to watch this battle unfold.
While Jonah Hax is not under immediate threat from Jenquid, he can still benefit from staying focused. Any slip-up could lose him the position.
Absolutely, and on the other side of the equation, Jenquid can't afford to let up. He's got to drive with intensity and focus, and wait for any opportunity to arise.
It looks like Jenquid is starting to catch up to Jonah Hax. The gap is now down to 0.3 seconds. This is where the race gets really interesting. Jenquid is closing in on Jonah Hax. It's certainly not going to plan for Jenquid right now, who is struggling to keep up with Jonah Hax. Sketty is running 8th, and trying to keep up with Costo.
This is where every inch counts. Sketty is pushing hard to close the gap on Costo.
It's game on now. Sketty has closed the gap to Costo. It's now down to 0.6 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
Look at that, Costo is hot on the tail of Racer 11C. Costo has just put in a faster lap than Racer 11C, so that's going to give him something to worry about. Octavio 67 is running 12th, and trying to catch D. Burkett.
The gap between them is now just over 0.5 seconds.
Breaking news, folks. Big gains for Octavio 67 as they move up the field, leaving D. Burkett behind.
Absolutely, Hal, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Octavio can't afford to get complacent.
Oh, this is getting intense. D. Burkett needs to keep Octavio 67 in his sights. It's not going to plan for D. Burkett, who is trailing behind Octavio 67 and the gap is widening. He may not have an answer for this right now. Costo is trying his best to catch Racer 11C. It seems like Costo is pushing hard, currently on track to record his best lap so far this race. Sketty is on a mission, chasing Costo, who's currently got a comfortable lead. It looks like we might get a battle between Sketty and Costo. Jenquid is looking for a way to close that gap to Jonah Hax.
It's a game of strategy now as Jenquid hunts down Jonah.
The battle for P7 is heating up as Sketty tries to catch Costo in P7.
This is where every inch counts. Sketty is pushing hard to close the gap on Costo. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing. The gap between Sketty and Costo is widening. It's now up to 0.6 seconds. This is where the mental toughness of Sketty comes into play. He'll need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going his way.
Ada, can you share some strategies that drivers use to manage tire degradation during a race?
Certainly, Hal. Some strategies include adjusting the car's setup for better tire life, altering driving lines to reduce wear, and using tire management techniques like lift and coast to preserve grip for as long as possible.
This is a thrilling battle as Sketty edges closer to Costo in their fight for P7.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Sketty needs to stay patient and wait for Costo to make a mistake.
The gap between Sketty and Costo is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds. Hey, Ada, you've had your fair share of races with little action. How did you handle the situation back in your racing days?
Well, Hal, patience is key in such scenarios. You need to stay focused and be ready to seize any opportunity that comes your way. It's like a game of chess at 200 miles per hour.
Looks like Costo is really pushing it to the limit. He's taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about maintaining that fine line between speed and control.
The pressure is on as Sketty tries to catch up to Costo.
With just 0.5 seconds between them, Sketty will need to close the gap to have hopes of a pass.
Wow, it's a close race for 7th. Racer 11C is barely ahead with Sketty right on his tail. A gap of only 0.2 seconds.
It's an intense battle between two skilled drivers, and Racer 11C in 7th is doing everything he can to keep Sketty in the rear-view mirror. The slightest mistake could cost him the position.
This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. Sketty is chasing Racer 11C in P7.
This is not going to be an easy pass to make.
It looks like Timo 1 has found another gear in the last sector of the race.
It takes a special kind of driver to perform under pressure like this. Timo 1 has certainly risen to the occasion.
The leader has done it. What an incredible performance from Timo 1, who was simply untouchable today. This is a race that will go down in the history books.
You can see the sheer determination on Timo 1's face as that becomes a win for the history books. That's the mark of a true champion, folks.
Some might say that second place is the first loser, but Locones certainly doesn't see it that way. He put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of his podium finish. Well done to Achi for securing third place on the podium.
Impressive driving to secure that spot.
Jaeger Strensky, Benjamin Nash, Costo, and Racer 11C take 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Sketty, Janquid, Octavio 67, and Jonah Hacks brings home 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. 12th and 13th is D. Burkett and Christoph Lee Appold.